Oh yeah, this little baby ought to destroy the comment section.
Don't do that.
Alright guys, welcome back to Think Build Test. I'm Jay. We're going to be talking about electrical getting installed inside this service pit. I'm going to use these WAGOs on this pit to help reduce the size of the wiring inside these junction boxes, since we're going to split so many things up. Alright, hopefully y'all enjoyed that time lapse of putting this thing together. So I just want to show you how these WAGOs fit in here, and they helped us to reduce our size by not having giant wire nuts in here. So we needed 2 light switches. This one's going to have a light, so it has to have a common right there. And so most of our commons on a regular switch are going to just keep on going, and they'll just connect to the further downstream. But this one needed a common here, so we have our one incoming common getting here, carrying on to the outlets, and then one coming back here to feed the light. As far as power on the black wire, it's coming in here, going in here, and then I got 2 pigtails coming back into the light, and then obviously we'll open or close the connection based on the switch, and then it'll go on out to the outlets. When the service floor is up, I want to know if the lights are on. I don't want to forget to leave lights on. This one will be pretty much serve as a emergency disconnect. In case I get water down there, I can just turn the power off real quick. As you can see, these little WAGOs are going to push to the back, and they'll just stay in there. There's a lot going on in these junction boxes, and I want to keep it organized, and I want to be able to see that after I've bent stuff around, some 3rd or 4th wire isn't popping out of a wire nut. Now we have our switch installed. We have power coming here, going to a breaker, 20 amp. These are rated 20 amp, and then we're going to carry on and go down. I know you guys are probably not going to be very happy that I'm using water PVC, but I want tight right angles to get around this stuff. I don't have room for all the swooping, and I'll just disconnect stuff if I need to wire it up. Yeah, it's not as smooth, sweeping angles, but they're really short runs, and I don't care. Now that we're done with the switches, we're coming down, and we had to move up to a 3/4 inch pipe in order to be able to fit 2 different runs coming down. We only have a single coming to it, 2 coming down, coming in here, coming out of the way. We kind of have all this PVC cut to fit. I got 1 box mounted so far, just so I could see how I wanted to mount it with the anchor bolts. Some of these wires that are coming from the concrete side, they're kind of short. They got a little damage when we were pulling the forms out. But I'll be able to bend those over tight into the WAGOs. They'll work real nice and tucked back there. Like everywhere, we have 2 wires going this way, 2 wires going that way, because we're going to have power and lights going both directions. But we'll just measure this out to where we have 6 inches sticking out, coming around, going to that bend, coming around. 6 inches sticking out. That's to start off with the longest straight piece you have. Over here, I'm going to leave a T on this side. That way I can add some ground or something that I need to in the bottom for future. So I'll just create a curve out of these. Send it on through, put it on there like that, straighten it back out, boom. this box here. Just using 3/4 inch hole, and this thing will just grab onto that pipe like so. So now this will go something like this. Screw that down and be done, but I need to mount this box first. That ain't going nowhere. The main difference in this left side compared to that side is this wire right here did not make it around to come out here like it was supposed to. So we're snaking this conduit around here to protect the wires all the way around. And our lift is going to be moving up and down here. So this won't get fouled on anyway. This side, the wires go inside and through to here. So no conduit needed on the outside. This was the original design. No conduit needed going through here to this bottom side to here. But in all the hurrying of trying to get all the concrete poured, a union fell down in there and I didn't have another one. So if you're gonna run stuff in the background, make sure you got some spare parts to be able to, if you drop something down in the concrete, get it going again. Okay, we had to have an intermission in this electrical install video to finish this cap. Now that you've seen that video, we can go on to connecting this pipe that I melted. Ugly, I'll cover that up, and it'll come into here. So we can make our connection. This is what our WAGOs are looking like so far. I don't think I'd be able to fit this many junction splices without these things. Getting my hands in here to twist a bunch of wire nuts would not be very fun, to be able to take this 12 gauge wire and get it all perfectly lined up. These are allowing my different runs to sit back. I'm even managing the ground wires with these things, and it's just way cleaner. I'm really enjoying these WAGOs. One of my considerations in using these WAGOs is the type of electricity I'm going to use. So what has been raised a lot on these is that there's a smaller connection point, less surface area than a wire nut. So if you're going to run a heat producing device, some kind of a shop heater on these, something with continual load that's going to cause heat all the time, then maybe you want to consider doing wire nuts, but also you wouldn't want to do as many splits as that I've done also. My working load on this for one side is going to be LED lights. LED lights have very low energy draw. So I'll have LED lights distributed out around this pit. So I'm not worried about that. That's not high amperage, so it's not going to be producing a lot of heat on these connections. The second thing, this is a small space, so I'm never going to be using all of the other outlets at once. I'm going to have one tool in my hand that I'm going to be using. This is only enough space for one person down here. So if I'm using an impact wrench, I'm going to be using one impact wrench. If I'm going to be using a soldering iron, I'm going to be using one soldering iron. And they're going to be short periods of time. I won't leave stuff plugged in down here. I'll get down here, use the space, and then get out of the space. I think that that's a huge thing in your consideration of whether or not you want to use these WAGOs. But like I said, if you were going to dedicate a circuit that was going to have some kind of a shop heater, or maybe you're a welder and you're doing long welds and stuff, then you should have a circuit breaker with less outlets on it and less runs in the first place, so you would not need to divide up all these circuits like I am. This is so I can have just more access places than having more outlets for more devices. Very few devices, very little amp draws, and very little time of usage. So these are going to be a really good solution for what I'm trying to do, because we're dividing up things a lot and I'm only going to be using a single tool at a time. Additionally, also, the guys who are using these things are doing tests and they're going above the rated wattage of 20 amps, which is a 12 gauge wire, and they're not going anywhere close to being hot enough to melt this plastic. These type of things I am very weary of because I come from the world of helicopters and aircraft, and so I don't like junction boxes at all. I don't like this type of connectors. I don't like wire nuts because I come from moving vehicles with lots of vibration and lots of altitude changes with when you go from high altitude to low altitude, the moisture changes. So house wiring is very risky feeling to me, but the concept of house wiring is this is not moving. There's no jiggling, there's no earthquakes here in Texas. Cross your fingers. If I do a good job and make sure all these switches are flipped down, that's my responsibility to visually indicate the wires in there and make sure everything's secure before I close this box. So in those cases, the WAGO should be just fine. And just like that, it's all electrical conduit. I have my pigtails put into here. I got pigtail ground. I'm gonna have my lights on the right and I'll have my main power on the left. This box is gonna have two receptacles and it's gonna split power this way and it's gonna have lights and power going this way. So I maybe should have done a bigger box for this one. This is a lot going on in here. But with having the WAGOs and having a standoff box to give me a little extra clearance, and this is a deeper box, I think it's going to work out. Now, the thing I'm not liking is because you have to do wire pairs, you can't just do all of one plug and get it all finished and all of the next plug. So now that I've got stuff stacked on top of this, it's hard to, once you need to go back and add the next wire set, go and get the little flip flapped up and then push down. It's hard to get back in there and flip that out. So that's what's taken me a long time to get this done, is having to get back in there to that one to add my jumper, to add my next wire. First three was pretty easy, but as we got the fourth and fifth leads in some of these, it got stacked pretty tight back there. But I'm going to press these back, shape these wires a little more, check for any fouling and stuff, and then we'll get these put in here. Interior lights, this one's going to be having a single outlet. Top's going to be lights, bottom's going to be power. I'm going to cut this tab off of these. Our lights are air gapped from our power. These front mounting plates are really cool because they'll double bond your outlet through the metal on the outlet and then go back and help you ground your whole plate as a whole. But they got these little break off tabs. Make sure you save these tabs because the screws got to go through it and mount it, because there won't be anything in the box to screw to, so you mount it to the front of the plate. Here's a look at my other transferring box for the other side. And these fit up here nice in this corner and that corner. And I got my grounds managed here. I know y'all might be concerned about my wires that are coming back to that sharp metal, but I did put some tubing wrap around the wires right there to give it extra protection. So it's not just bare wires over there that can get cut on that. They have doubled up insulation. I just didn't have any space for any more things in these boxes. These two down here at the end, I used the recess boxes that were in the concrete, and there's no jumping on further down, so I did like I did back there. I cut the middle clip, so the top should be lights, the bottom should be power. Both sides. Now all those boxes are done down there. Before we get things cleaned up, let's do a switch test. So we'll make sure these are off. And I'm gonna wear a little bit of safety stuff, add a new breaker, a lot of new stuff, a lot of new wiring. I really don't want to get burnt arc flash, so we'll do a little precaution, a little hearing protection. Okay, nothing there. Let's try this one. Now let's see if there's actually any power in here. We did pop a breaker. Now we gotta find out where it was. Let me do a little bit of research. Okay, I guess let's go for take two. Maybe it's a hard foul on a box. I didn't see any clear burn marks. Moved some wires, opened all the box, no burn marks. But after moving everything, clamping everything back up, I did a continuity test and nothing's going from hot to ground, nothing from hot to neutral. So we'll try this again. 3, 2, 1. Popped it again. Now I'm baffled. Okay, so it's the switch. What I thought was common my whole life was common and ground, common neutral. Common usually has to do with grounding and the return. But this little diagram says common, line hot. The switch is different than every other switch. So regular switch, hot to hot. Turn it on, bring the power through. This one, I did hot to hot. I did notice the different color screws, but you can see it says common, common. One solid bus bar, common, common. That looks like you should put neutral there to me. Did not read the instructions. I assumed and made an ass out of me. Not quite you, because wasn't your fault. But when I flip the switch, continuity, continuity. Flip the switch, no continuity. Continuity. This to here, this to there. We got the wires switched back. We got line coming in on the common, and we have our line going out, and we have our neutral here for turning on and off the light. Screw color makes sense, but common means ground. Bus bar, there's a common hot there, but that's just stupid. I'm upset about it. I think I have to be right, so we'll test it again. Good. 2. Okay, so we're going to test our 4 plugs down in there. Lights out for a dramatic effect, so these should all be the top ones. Boo! Okay, so I had this back switch, just the leads going to it, just swap top to bottom. Wasn't a big deal. All this filming, you guys distract me. All right, take two. Yay! 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, let's get ready to test the power side, not the light side of the switch. Okay, time for switch 2. Alright, that one worked. You know what I would really like? I'd really love it if this one had some kind of mistake and I had to open this box again. It'd make me so happy. Not only 100,000 times opened up, 100,000,000 times. Okay, so here we are underneath the truck. Things are looking a lot more finished, a lot more complete than the last time we were underneath this truck. Be nice to see what you guys see when I get on the other end of the video. This seems pretty civilized down here right now. See how much more light is needed down here. One thing that's nice about this is if you had too much light in your face, you'd be too blind to see. So I think this is really good lighting for down here, for me being able to see tooling that's going to be here. You'll just maneuver around without stumbling around. I do like this lighting, and it's really cool looking with the backgrounds lit and it not as lit around here. To me, I think that looks real cool. I feel like this type of light is really invasive. So you can probably see me a lot better right now, but here's what I'm seeing on my side. It's very embracive. This is just too much focal on my face. So that'd be super nice if we had some pod lights like this on magnets, stick them to the rail. I think that's exactly what we need, is to get some magnets, do like a switch magnet where you can flip the switch, put it on super tight, bring it down here, have some metal down here that it rests on, maybe have some kind of a bungee cord on the light to be able to bring it in and out. Okay, I'm gonna wrap this film up. Appreciate all you guys watching this, and we got a lot more to come. We're gonna start decking this out with pegboards and tools, get some stuff finalized when we kind of get the fit and feel of everything. But this is gonna be it for the electrical install and preliminary lighting check. Definitely more things are coming. We'll be designing that X-lift, so I want you guys to be there to help me decide what we need for it. We're going to stand it up, we're going to take a look at it, we're going to start looking at some pins and bearings, and want you guys to leave me comments what you think we need. This will be part of the Think series for the X-frame lift. Then we'll move on to building, and then, as always, testing it out. I'm just going to leave you guys with some footage of our completed work.
Today is the day I'm making a change.